Hey YouTube, here's a final part in the do-it-yourself 1 inch by 30-inch leather belt or leather strap, whatever you want to call it. If you have seen the other two videos, it was essentially the attempt I made, first attempt at creating a leather belt, and that was successful. And the problem there, as I had mentioned in the other vids, was not the adhesion. That worked well with the wood weld. Any contact cement works though. The problem that this had was with the thickness and my having to sand the whole belt down in order to accommodate the gap that this little belt sander has. It can only be so thick, and my recommendation was basically to keep it within 2 to 3 millimeter, and you should be fine. This is a second attempt at another leather belt I had laying around, and this is much better because I didn't have to do any sanding of the thickness to match the gap. This happens to be a little bit thick at 3.3 millimeter, but I'll turn this on. You could see that it tracks better, and overall it works better. Now I still have it snug on the machine, and by that I mean I purposely made the belt tighter because over time it's going to loosen up, and so I didn't want to have to make another belt. So I figure over time, as it loosens up, I'll be able to use the adjustment to back it out, and also the wear will occur over time, giving it a little bit more play or room in this area. But the attempt was pretty much the same in that I used contact cement. The difference here, if I can find it, I'll show you. The first attempt was what they call an overlap, which is, I mentioned it before, it's just cutting into each end of the belt, half the thickness, and then overlapping it and joining it together with the contact cement. This belt, what I did was, rather than overlapping, I did a butt joint, which just basically butts up the ends of the belt together. So I took the overall length that I wanted, butted it up together, took an inch back on each end, and I don't know if you can see it. This is just a little iPhone that I'm shooting this on, so but you can see how the belt was thinned out or sanded down. Yeah, maybe that's a little bit better, but anyhow, I did that, and then I cut off of a scrap piece of this belt that I had, a 2-inch piece, which is what you see there, and I again sanded it down to match the thickness overall of the thickness of this belt. So I used the caliper this time to give it a little more precision in its thickness, and it worked out really well. I used the contact cement to glue both ends together onto this leather strip, and it's worked very well. This is not going to ever come apart, not as far as the adhesion goes, so that's going to stay permanently bonded. I think the tracking is much better because the thickness is uniformed with this belt as opposed to the first attempt. And so my conclusion is, if you keep the thickness appropriate and uniform and not have to sand the belt down for thickness, you'll be fine. And so long as you use contact cement to glue both ends of the belt together, whatever method you use, whether it be that first attempt of an overlap, which is this. You could see it's half and half overlapped. You got about an inch on each end that's overlapped and cut. I prefer, after doing both, this method. Seems to be cleaner, but I don't really have the need to go out and get any other belts and try this anymore, because this belt works fine, and I think it'll last me a long time. Anyhow, it's a good project to do if you haven't plunked down the 30 bucks or whatever the leather belts are going for. I think they're 25 or 30 bucks now, depending on what manufacturer you use. But I like saving money, and I like knowing that I can create something out of nothing, which is basically a belt. And if I can use it for a good long time, then I find it unnecessary to spend money that I don't have to. And this machine has really worked out well. I mean, I think it's going to last me a long time. As you can see, this is one of the old machines. It must be one of the first when they came out. I don't know how old it is, but it is a Harbor Freight machine. Or it is made by the same company, the Central Machinery. But it just doesn't have that green color that I see all the new ones with. But it works really well. I don't see any maintenance that is required right now. And it's only for knife sharpening. What I'm going to end up doing is putting this on its side, and rather than sharpening this way, I'm going to do it flat. I think that'll just suit my eye better, and it'll make it easier. I'm not experienced as a sharpener of knives, and as I mentioned earlier, my attempts at other sharpening tools was just really a waste of my time. This has been the most effective way for me, even though it potentially can take off more blade or more meat off of your blade than anything else, because of the speed in which it is rotating. I still think it's much faster, and given a little bit more practice, I think I'll really get to the point where I can sharpen pretty much all of the blades that I have right now. It's just everyday carry knives, and this is real sharp for my taste. And it's worked well, So anyhow, hope you got something out of it. Give it a shot. Make your own if you haven't already. And until next time.